After day 2 of the NFL draft, the Broncos ended up coming up with 3 impact players. I love the draft so far, and a lot of people in Broncos country feel the opposite. But I'm going to talk to you about why I feel like this has been a really solid draft for the team so far, given a lot of the circumstances and the situations. Is it perfect? No. Am I going to just tell you guys things because I look through it at an orange and blue lens? Absolutely not. Anybody that's been watching this channel knows that I just like to keep it real. But if you love Denver sports, you love the NFL draft, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Like the video, and let's talk about the Broncos' latest additions. So it was a crazy day 2. Let me tell you guys that. The Broncos traded back not just once, but they traded back twice, and it went from essentially pick, what was it, 45? I think, yeah, 45 to 50 to like 57, and then they ultimately made a selection at pick number 60. And with the 60th pick, with, a lot of running backs on the board, right? We had guys like Caleb Johnson that a lot of people like that I wasn't a big fan of on the board. DJ Giddens, who I loved, was on the board. And Dylan Sampson, which I wasn't a fan of, but was very high on a lot of people's boards, were on the board. And they elected to pass up on all of them and select Central Florida running back RJ Harvey. And I'll tell you guys something about RJ Harvey, man. He's somebody that is going to bring a very unique dynamic to this running back room. Now, I don't think this running back room is complete, so we will judge the room when the time is appropriate. But he is a very, very special runner of the football, man. I think if he wasn't 24 years old, which I think is a little bit, my buddy Jeremy made a really good point on this, because he said, especially with running back, the age is not that big of a problem. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on the tires. And it's a 3 to 4 year rental anyways, whenever you're drafting a running back. So that's kind of how I look at it. But I'll tell you guys something, man. This dude has got the juice, the absolute juice. He is a dynamic playmaker. And when you watch him, his muscles got muscles, man. He's 5 foot, barely 5'9", basically my height, but 208 pounds, pure muscle, very, very well proportioned. And he's a very powerful running back. He got a lot more power than you would expect from somebody that size. His lateral agility, his lateral movement is fire. And he just brings a dynamic to this team that I think is a very, very good fit ultimately. You can tell the Broncos were looking for running backs. They still need more, but they were looking for a very specific type. And the thing about RJ Harvey is he brings a skill set that no one else on this team can bring, right? He brings a very good mix of being able to be extremely powerful, has very good vision, and has, I think ridiculous contact balance for somebody his size. And he's consistently able to take negative runs or no gain runs and make 3 or 4 yards out of them. And that's something that we were surely lacking. I'm extremely excited to see how Sean Payton uses them. And then afterwards in the press conference, George Payton said this was kind of their pet cat the whole time. When they realized there wasn't a chance in hell they were going to get Ashton Genty, they were super high on him. A lot of reports saying that he was the 3rd rated running back on their board. I could actually believe that, because you got Genty, for sure. Henderson, in my opinion, was 2, and then RJ Harvey was 3. And that's because they were looking for a specific type of back. It doesn't mean that they thought he was the 3rd best running back in this draft, which some people did think, but for what they needed, he was absolutely that. He's a monster, man. He led the entire NCAA in runs of 10 plus. He was 2nd in the entire NCAA in runs of 15 plus. He's dynamic. He's explosive. And I think that, in the type of role that he's going to play in a running back by committee, he's going to be able to really make the most out of the touches that he gets. So I love it. The second pick is probably the most controversial around Broncos country. And I might be biased because I've made several videos about this guy, talking about how I just think he's very underrated. I think he's going to go a lot higher than people think. And that is wide receiver Pat Bryant out of Illinois. Here's why I love Pat Bryant. A lot of people, when they come to prospects, especially at receiver, they fall in love with the potential, the length, the athleticism and the speed. And I get that. Like I totally do, especially, dependent on what the team is doing and the state of that particular team's roster. What the Broncos needed was a extremely well-rounded, polished wide receiver that can play in the slot, that can win outside. He's a better X receiver than he is as a slot. He's a really good blocker, and he's able to do a lot more to limit the rotations that they consistently had. Don't get it twisted, guys. I love me some Devon Vele, but I think Devon Vele was someone that was playing out of position a little bit last year. I think he's better suited as more of a big slot receiver. That's not what Pat Bryant is. Pat Bryant has got an uncanny ability to create separation, even though he's not the most athletic guy. His contested catch rate is among the highest of any of the wide receivers in all of college. He's a phenomenal blocker, just a great team leader. Broke all the records at Illinois for receiving and for receiving yards. He's just totally a Sean Payton guy. Sean Payton did compare him and says, I see a lot of traits of Michael Thomas. And he was very careful to say, listen, comparing him to Michael Thomas is unfair and it's BS, but there's a lot of those traits. And you can see what he means by that in a sense of his ability to utilize his body to make catches, to box guys out, and to tempo his routes in the short, intermediate, and long. That's, I think, what makes him really good. He's a very polished receiver. He's got a lot of experience, and he doesn't drop anything, man. He's got really, really good hands. He's a red zone stud. And guys, listen, some athletes, I think we could all agree, they just have an it factor. They just do. We don't really know how to explain it. Us non-athletes definitely don't know how to explain it, but they got an it factor. That's what Pat Bryant's got. Pat Bryant is the it factor guy. He's a guy that had 5 game-winning touchdowns in his career at Illinois, 3 of them being last year. When the game's on the line and good things need to happen, he just balls, man. So I'm a big fan of Pat Bryant. Everybody's going to say you drafted him too early, blah, blah, blah. First thing, you don't know that, right? There's been a lot of buzz. A lot of these insiders and a lot of people that are really tuned into the league said that, they heard a lot of rumblings that this guy can go earlier than they thought. But whether you get him in the 3rd round or you get him in the 4th round, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. If he's a very good player. If he's not a very good player, it doesn't matter if you got him in the 7th round versus if you got him in the 3rd round. He's not a good player. So once the draft happens, like the draft pick happens, you just got to be like, all right, it is what it is, and you move on. And I think we got a really good one in Pat Bryant. He's the most controversial one of the day. I think he's got a legitimate opportunity to be the most impactful one and just be a really, really solid player. I see a Mecca Ibuka light in his game, to be honest with you. But he did play more on the outside. And he's going to look good in that number 13, man. He's going to look really good. I've been waiting for a receiver to bring that number 13 at Denver for a while now. All right. And then in the wee hours of day 2, the Broncos now traded up, right? Gave up a little bit of extra picks, but they ended up trading up to get defensive lineman Savon Jones. And I'll tell you what, man. I was thrilled with this pick, especially when I realized that even though he's listed as an edge, he is going to be a defensive lineman, a 3-tech, hand in the dirt D lineman, someone that is rotating with Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, and Malcolm Roach on this team. So it's a very big need. We needed to add depth to that position. His motor is ridiculous. He's very young. He's very raw, but he played in the SEC and he was very productive. And also, he was extremely, he's got a very, very high ceiling is what I see him as, but also can be somebody that contributes right off of the bat. He was coached by Jamar Kane, who's our current pass rushing coach. And he obviously raved about him, which is always a very positive thing. You got a lot of the connections. Another connection actually was with Pat Bryant. Jim Leonard, our secondary coach, who's the head defensive coordinator in the waiting maybe for the Broncos. He worked with Illinois in his year off recovering from hip surgery. He was a consultant. He was able to, be around the kid and obviously has a lot of connections there. And they heard rave things about him too. But when it comes to Savon Jones, man, one thing that I think you guys are going to realize that's really good about him is that he's an extremely violent player and he's going to be very, very good against the run right off of the bat, which is always a big positive for rookies. And he's going to need to develop on the pass rushing moves and the type of, obviously just making the leap going into the NFL. But I think he's got all of the potential in the world, and he's got all of the measurables too. I had him pulled up. I'm going to pull him up just to make sure, but I know his arm length was well over 33. Let me see. Come on. It's right here. It's right in front of my face the whole time. He's 6'5", 280, 33.5-inch arms and 10-inch hands. Those measurables are phenomenal. He's probably going to be playing closer to 285, 290 in the league. He carries the weight really well. His athleticism is top tier. He's played a lot of games. Here's the crazy part. Like, he's played a lot in college. Wasn't always a full-time player. So he's got a lot of experience, but he's still very raw in a sense that he can get a lot better once he's gets a defined role, once he's able to get on a strength and conditioning program in the NFL. And guys, I mean, what about this particular coaching staff makes you not confident that we can properly develop players? They've done it across the board with so many guys. So I am a huge fan of Savon Jones. I think it fills a really big need for us. It gives us some tremendous depth at the defensive line position. And I get it. I know a lot of Broncos fans, including myself, are a little bit disappointed that we didn't add to the offense as much as they would have liked, right? But you have to look at the big picture. There's a lot of really key factors that come in here. Firstly, when you just continue to add to a strength, our defense was very good. We got a lot better in free agency with Hufanga and with Dre Greenlaw, obviously. And now in the draft with Jahdae Barron, and Savon Jones, and then we got some couple day 3 guys we'll have a separate video on once that's complete. This defense now is locked and loaded, and the only issue that this defense had last year was they had a pretty severe issue with depth. We were way too reliant on injuries not happening. Otherwise, we took a pretty big fall off. You are not going to have that problem no more. A lot of the starters from last year are now backups. Right, PJ Locke is now a backup safety. Someone that's a depth guy. It's phenomenal depth. Justin Sternot is a special teams, but now he's depth at the linebacker position. And Jahdae Barron now brings you unbelievable depth and flexibility at corner. He'll be a starter even if he's not technically a starter. He'll play like a starter. And across the defensive line now with Savon Jones, you've got legitimate rotational guys there. And I love the fact that our defense now easily projects to be a top 3 defense in the NFL. It's a great way to be able to help your offense out. Another thing, you have to take into account that Bo Nix will take a leap into year 2, right? The addition of Evan Ingram is going to be huge, right? Obviously, if he gets injured, I get it. We need to add depth at the tight end position, but we can worry about that, and we can kind of see how the rest of, the not just the draft, but the offseason takes fold, right? I mean, there's always the possibility of drafts. There's going to be teams that end up releasing guys after the draft, A, because they drafted some players that they're happy with, and B, because they don't have to worry about not getting compensatory picks, some salary cap flexibility, all that kind of stuff. So guys will become available. So that's a fluid situation there. But assuming that Evan Ingram is going to be healthy for the whole year, he brings a very, very great dynamic to the team. And he's going to be able to help Sean Payton do a lot of things that he really wasn't able to do last year. And then you just have to trust at some point that they're going to give Audric Estime, they're going to give Blake Watson legitimate opportunities to compete. RJ Harvey is going to be a really nice addition to the room, but you could also go out there and sign J.K. Dobbins if you need somebody that is going to be very good in pass protection, right? I'm praying that they end up with my guy, Kyle Monangai, because I think he would round out the running back room and we'd be good there. But across the board, I think we're fine. Like, it would have been ideal to get one of these tight ends. I loved Mason Taylor or Terrence Ferguson or Harold Fannin on day 2. We weren't able to get them. And based off of what it would have taken to move up and get them, I just don't think it would have been worth it when it's all said and done, because you have to take into account the entire roster and moving forward, what that all looks like. So I really like what George and Sean Payton did. I thought that they worked the draft really well, given how everything fell. I'm sure they probably had an idea that there was going to be that tight end run that happened before them, and they were just hopeful that it wouldn't, but it is what it was. Pat Bryant's style of football is also going to be able to help mitigate a little bit of the tight end need, because he can do some of those dirty tight end works in particular packages and all that too. So far, given the day 1 and the day 2 picks, I give this draft a very, very solid B. I'm not going to sit there and say it was an A+, an A-. It's hard to judge it, but I like it a lot. I think it was very solid. I think it addressed a lot of needs. And I think that these day 2 guys are going to be very, very impactful right away and moving forward into the future for the Denver Broncos. Let me know what you guys think below, but don't just tell me that it was a great draft or it was a shitty draft. Let me know why. I love to interact with y'all below. Hope y'all have a wonderful day, man. Spend time with those that you love the most. Go Broncos, baby. And until next time.